This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Chris Puga, SVP Mobile at Creative Clicks. Chris, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you for coming. So, as always on the show, I'm going to start with setting up the stage. So, what are you watching these days? The Morning Show? The Foundation on Apple TV Plus? Sex Education on Netflix? Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime? Are you listening music on Apple Music or Spotify? In other words, we live in a streaming world. Initially, it was cool to have Netflix for all your online movie watching time, and now we have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Hulu, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Max, which you may still remember call HBO Max, Disney Plus. All these platforms charge you around $10 a month, which is great, but when you decide to go with a few of them at the same time, it adds up pretty quickly. People clearly need to decide what platforms to choose because they both don't have time to watch all of this stuff and don't have enough money. And so they have to choose. And this is just movies. There are streaming apps for games, fitness, podcasts, and more. In this episode, we have Chris to help us out with your app growth strategy to survive these streaming wars. But first, Chris, let's kick off with talking about you. Tell us about yourself and your background in tech.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Chris Puga, the SVP Mobile Performance here at Creative Clicks. My role here, I lead the mobile performance division, and I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. Before this, joining the Creative Clicks team, I worked at Twitter, CBS Television, and a few other startups in the ad tech industry, all here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Nice. So you work in Twitter when it was Twitter, not X.
Yes. You like how I mentioned Twitter, I didn't say X? Yeah. I was there 2012 to 2016. So
Oh,
before
those days. Gosh, that's before everything.
Yeah. The
Oh,
Wild
yeah.
Wild West. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. That's the topic for the different podcast. So tell me about Creative Clicks. What problems do you guys solve in the market and how come clicks can be creative?
Absolutely. Yeah, happily. Creative Clicks, we're simply put, we're a full service global performance agency. We help brands and large agencies deliver complex performance ad strategies across several different objective categories, right? CPI, CPA, CPL, cost per call, cost per entry, cost per sign, obviously cost per subscription, talking about streaming. You name it, we have the tech and the resources to execute. And what makes us unique, though, I think, is our ability to cater to our clients' needs with custom builds. So whatever is needed within reason, we can execute. So I think what I learned quickly, simply put, we prioritize our clients' needs. That's how the team's been operating here for 18 years. It's exactly why our retention rate is so high. That's something that I'm very proud and humbled by.
Dedication, hard work, analysis, and constant learning. Yeah, this is what makes a company a great team to strive and keep up and doing great work. Okay, one of the, like I said at the beginning, one of the most prominent trends in media business today is streaming. So it's all started with music, thanks to Spotify, then it moved to movies and games. By now, it's definitely mainstream, and it's pretty crowdy. Obviously, streaming implies content management on a big scale, and so let's talk about content curation, why it's important, and what are the challenges do you see associated with it?
Yeah, I kind of giggled when you said streaming started with Spotify. I'm like the Napster, LimeWire generation, so
Oh, yeah, those
I've really
days.
seen it all. But I guess you might consider that like the piracy business and maybe not the streaming business. But
Yeah.
regardless,
Of course.
a few ways to answer that question when you look at content creation, and I could start from the brand's perspective, right? From the brand's perspective, it's simple. Like content creation is important because a seamless user experience is no longer a luxury or a nice to have, it's a necessity. Users need to be able to navigate and engage with what they want, when they want it at any point during their experience, if they're a new user or an experienced user. And if you can't accomplish this, if you're not analyzing your data, you'll quickly find out and you'll quickly fail. I think from our point of view, from the growth partners side of the coin, the answer is a little bit different. We see content creation as an opportunity. I think we're fortunate enough to work with several different streaming platforms, all with different interfaces, different categories, different verticals, and all with different user flows. One good tip worth sharing is that we've started to leverage our clients' internal data into creative rotations. So I'll backtrack a little bit. When a streaming platform has a new show or a trending film or a hot new podcast, a new playlist, it just passed the New Year's where new playlist was really big. We optimize our creatives in real time by testing deep linking so that a new user can download the app, be taken to a page with the content from the ad that they clicked on. So a seamless pinpoint experience for any new user. And so far, we've seen that to be extremely successful. So what we do is we kind of flip those challenges, turn them into opportunities. Streaming platforms are going to iterate, and they're going to advance fast with new technologies that are going to be hitting the marketplace. I believe that it's our job as a growth partner to learn as much as we can from our platforms, provide solutions, and assist them in accelerating their growth.
Yeah, you mentioned deep links. It's one of my favorite tools for app marketing because it really lets you connect your audience directly with the stuff they're looking for. It's like we used to provide the specific page on the website for people to check out the content they're looking for specifically. They're not that interested in the homepage of the website, so the same thing applies to a specific app. If it has a lot of content and they need that tidbit, the specific item, you could just get them right there. Now, in our daily lives, we get it intuitively. The first impression you make on somebody matters a lot. This is how you win the trust, you build a rapport and trust between you and that person. So when it comes to onboarding users to your app, how do we manage to make this first impression good?
Yeah. I think deep linking, you mentioned it, is a great way to make a good first impression. I think not inundating new users with a lengthy user flow, I think that's huge. That is an amazing way to make a good first impression. Make it easy for a user to sign up and become that new user. If there's a paywall, introduce it early. If you can do a nice integration with a third-party platform so they don't have to manually put their information, that's a great ease to ease in the flow. I think operationally, having a fast connection, is your app sizable? Work with a partner like Creat who can target new users who are only using Wi-Fi. If you're running a campaign in different countries, tier 1s to tier 3s that have different device capabilities, work with a partner like Creat who can help with device targeting. If your app is too heavy, have a light version. Make it easy for users to download your app and then consume the content within your app. I think another good tip is to have a good app store optimization strategy. Really important for new users. Are you monitoring your keywords within your description? Are you changing your header image regularly? The last thing you really want to do is you want to pay for new users, but then lose that potential conversion with a poor app rating. So there's a ton to list here, right? We can have a different podcast on this question alone, but ultimately listen to your users, solicit feedback, get reviews, and then fail fast.
Yeah, there is two things which may happen with you in businesses. One of my favorite podcast hosts likes to say. So the first big thing that may happen to you, which you will be not happy about, is just losing losing a battle. Not that this specific project will fail, but the worst problem will be if that fail is slow. If you're failing slowly, you're not learning from that problem. And so if you're failing fast, you can just go back to the drawing board, take the other route and fix that problem, as opposed to just slowly but surely going down and wasting your time on losing.
Yeah, 100% agree.
You mentioned the shorter, the lighter version of the app. It's I wonder where these lighter versions for the apps have been using because I don't encounter them a lot these days. So I remember when Apple introduced this lighter version of the app, and the initial idea was that when you're I don't know, somewhere when you need to use a service and you need the later version to start like a transaction with something like, I don't know, Starbucks or something, when you just need to pay something for something quickly. But to this day, I don't think I can recall a lot of instances when I was interacting with the lighter version of the apps. So I just wonder, where are they? They're not that mainstream as I hope they will be
Yeah,
in a
not
while.
not in our areas, but in different countries, in and around India, there could be an app that you're launching that you minimize the capabilities, so it's not as heavy and it's easier to download and it's easier to use.
Gotcha. So they're specifically catered for the devices that will be taking advantage of a lighter app.
Correct.
Okay. Now let's imagine I see the number of users for my app is growing. So this is great, awesome. So what do we do to optimize their experience to make them stick with the app?
Yeah.
Um, Sustainable business is not feasible. It's not possible with the stable, growing user base.
Yeah. Sticky users, right? The kind of question where there's not only one answer. These are great. So if I had to generalize, I would say step one, go into it with an open mindset. You know, truly let your users navigate your decisions, have them track what you're going to do and help them provide you solutions. I think tracking drop off um, that so you can potentially fix any hurdle. That's key. So you know like where the miss is happening.
Mhm.
Enabling sharing, enabling push notifications, but doing so in a respectful manner. The last thing you want is to have all these negative reviews is saying this app is, messages me 20 times a day with incorrect information. So don't be too aggressive, but make sure you do leverage that effectively. Super important to maintain sticky users and help with retention. Step two, after you kind of tackle all those battles, is to have a good remarketing strategy, right? Work with a network like Creative Clicks who can efficiently and effectively capitalize on churned users, lapsed users with an evergreen approach, right? And have separate remarketing strategies, different campaign details, different prerequisites, different bidding strategies for your churn users. And then the same for free users and different for paid users, all to be run simultaneously.
Yeah, this is good. Really essential to make sure that you have the strategy, you have the partner to help you out with the cases when part of your user base they're not churning off because they don't want your app. They still see the value. There's still need for them to use your application to take advantage of that app, but for whatever reason they were distracted, switch on something else. Just like one of those open emails you meant to send somebody, you open the email but never send that email, but because you were distracted with something else. So it happens on a big scale in our daily uh, busy lives. So you need to have a right tool to remind you about yourself and just to show that you're relevant. The app is still there. You can still take advantage of its features.
Well said.
Now, examples are always helpful. So let's give our audience a few to show what a successful growth strategy looks like.
Sure. Yeah, specifically in the streaming space, there's a ton of successful streaming apps right now in the App Store and Google Play. You mentioned Paramount Plus earlier, Disney Plus, Peacock, Amazon Prime, their freebie. They all leverage their new release schedule super effectively for a successful growth campaign, as well as all the other steps that we mentioned earlier. It's hard to call out one, but because we love all of our partners, obviously. I think one tip worth sharing that's been huge for us and it's great to recommend to others, is to prioritize communication. Creative deployment for a streaming app is extremely tricky and important to execute flawlessly, right? For most of our streaming platforms, each have multiple global campaigns with different prerequisites, different bids, more importantly, different creatives, right? And for creatives, incorrectly or a delay in accurate creative deployment can absolutely crush a campaign. It could ruin it very quickly. So this needs to be seamless and in real time to coincide with their offline marketing. And so what we've done is we have share drives, we assist with real-time communication with all of our ad partners so that nothing gets missed, nothing gets lost, and we make sure that that is handled with several different team members are on site. We have weekly stand-up calls to go over these strategies. We have monthly reports, screenshot decks, QBRs with global team members. All this together ensures that we're running the right time, the right ads at the right time, targeting the right users. So win-win-win strategy.
Yeah, thanks for this example. I can imagine what looks like the release of, let's say, a movie on Netflix in multiple markets where they have to take it, into account not only the language of the country, but a bunch of cultural differences, and that should be all choreographed in this single action, and they will be losing if something goes wrong on one of those markets. It will be less than expected. It's not like you're just going online with the uh, TV series in US or Canada and you're good, like you're within one market. When it's about the going 12, 10 and more, a lot of creatives should be adapted and go flawlessly with the audience in that country. Do not make do not make silly mistakes with the some jargon or cultural differences.
Yes.
I've covered recently these aspects in one of the guides for the business of apps, and things like color perception, different countries is different. Like white collar means completely different in Japan, and comparing to what it means in Europe or States. So these small things are all important, and when you're going on a big scale, it's just really important to make everything go flawlessly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And have that understanding that those things do matter. They do affect engagement rate. They do affect your conversion rate. And if your campaign is failing, you need to know why. You need to fix it fast. And if it is creative, which it is sometimes, you need to have a plan to execute to rotate it out, get something fresh in there, and then
Right.
provide that qualitative feedback back to your client. I think that's important too, and they'll of course appreciate it.
Of course they will. Finally, what takeaways do you have for our listeners?
I'm gonna quote Ted Lasso here. I just used this
Okay.
recently. I'm gonna say, be curious. All right. Our industry is changing super fast right now. It's kind of wild. I would say learn something new this year within our industry and ask and continue to ask questions. I think it will do wonders for you as a person and for your career.
Great. Okay, Chris, I have this question for you. Every time I have a guest on the show who has a big experience, like a multiple years in the industry under his belt, I believe he or she has something to say about the industry, things that are out of her or his reach. They cannot fix it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't bother them. So, looking at the mobile ad business today, what would you like to change it about it the most?
Yeah, the obvious answer is user data. I'm on that other side of the fence that says, give me more relevant ads. Please take my mobile ID, take my tracking history, stop serving me irrelevant ads. I would change that like that in a heartbeat. Um, Other than that, I would say I would love to see more collaboration within our industry. I would say let's learn from each other, right? We've all seen shifts, acquisitions, mergers, sadly layoffs recently. I think our industry is small. I think if we collaborated more from within, I think we can turn some of those challenges into opportunities. And I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, that would be great. That mentality, I wish it can be shifted. Like, yes, we're competing. We're in it's a capitalist market, but it doesn't mean we cannot help each other to move the combined envelope farther
Yeah.
altogether. All right. We're finishing the first part of the show, and whenever I have a new guest on the show, I take this opportunity not only to bring some good insight about the topic on the table, but let my audience know that person a little bit better with a few quick questions. Here we go. So what smartphone do you have now? Are you one of those folks who are switching between the platforms, these two giants, or being on one side all the time?
Oh, one side. I got an iPhone Max 10. I did go Android once, and I didn't even last a year. So I'm iOS all day.
Okay. Uh, Before the days of iPhone, before that great introduction of iPhone in 2007, what was your first mobile phone?
Oh man, you're gonna age me. All right. I had one of those small Nokia beveled phones. It might have been, I don't know if it was the first one. My dad had a car phone, like the big brick Zach Morris
Oh
ones
my
too.
gosh, one of
Um,
those.
yeah, it was in a Buick. It was amazing. I wish we still had that. But I loved my first mobile phone, but I'll do you one better. I had a pager growing up when I was in
Oh,
middle school. So there you
nice.
go.
Yes, yeah. Pager doesn't tell anything for folks right now. But this used to be a thing called pager, and you actually could receive a messages on that thing. If you one or two lines of green text, that's it. And it was enough for folks, I don't know, who were in the healthcare system or I don't know, firefighters, police. There were multiple uses for business, and yeah, some folks used for personal use, like
Yeah.
you're saying. I think my brother used to have pager back in the day as well. Now I remember.
See? Yeah, it's a good guy, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Back to present. So let's imagine you've left your home, leaving your smartphone inside for whatever reason. Okay, you're out. What's the most missing feature for you?
Oh, probably messages. Sending mess. I don't think I can go away with my messages, and then um, feature. I mean, Chat GPT is kind of obvious. I think I use the weather app a lot. I'm always using the weather app. So give me some advancements in weather. I'm a dad, so I feel like I'm checking the weather multiple times a day, and I don't even know why.
Yeah, whenever I get this notification from the weather app on iOS that says expect rain in 15 minutes, I have this mental picture from back in the to the future scene with it when Doc was telling Marty, we're gonna have rain soon. Isn't that weather forecast amazing in the future? So here we go. We are in the future. We have these notifications 15 minutes in advance. All right. Speaking of future, when you're looking at your phone right now, perhaps there's something you would like to improve in this thing, some feature, hardware, software, something that would be specifically for you useful. Shouldn't be any, trendy stuff, but what would make it a better device for you?
Yeah, I run a lot, so I use Strava. I use a lot of like tracking apps. I feel like those are great. I love them. I think there can be more to offer within that. There's any distance. There's a few pretty good ones out there. So I like to see that advance. But I think if we're thinking like like new technologies, I think like AI is just going to continue to drop into new apps that we can't even think of right now, and it's going to shape the way we engage with our phones. So I'm excited to see that and see how it'll help me with the apps I'm using that I don't even know how it's going to help me, but I'm sure it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, for sure. And sooner when than with we think, as it happened with the ChatGPT 4. Okay, before I let you go, very, very final question. How can people get in touch with you and get more information about what you do?
Oh, easy. Chris.puga@creativeclicks.com. There's only one Chris Puga on LinkedIn, so please reach out and say hi.
Great. Chris, thank you so much for spending time with us and being on the show. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
And that was Chris Puga, SVP Mobile at Creative Clicks. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. Remember, we release episodes on Mondays, so subscribe and you'll be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review or comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.